Welcome back, guys. This should be the very last lecture for completing our editing functionality to edit a product. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. Before anything, we're gonna have to import Axios because we are gonna be making an HTTP request. So let's go ahead and take care of that. And by the way, the bulk of our logic for the front end will be here in the handle product submit. This will be the event handler that will be executed the moment that the user clicks on the submit button. All right. So this is where we'll take care of most of our work for the front end. But let's go ahead and import that Axios. Import Axios from Axios. All right, go ahead and save that. There we go. First step taken care of. Next step is to prepare the data. All right, so we are gonna have to prepare the data that we're gonna send off to the server. And essentially, all that data that we're sending to the backend is the data that's stored here currently at the component state in component state properties. All right, all this stuff right here. So what we are going to do is here in the handle product submit. Well, before anything, we're going to do handle event prevent default, right? To prevent the default behavior of the browser, which will refresh the page. We want to prevent that. Next step is let's prepare that data. So we are going to do it and store it in a variable called form data, and we are going to do new form data. Now this creation of, or this instance that we're creating here of a new form data, this is built into the browser. And the reason why we're making use of this form data is because we're sending over an image, and images are what are considered multi-part form data, /form data. All right, so for this reason, we're making use of this built-in browser function here, and we're going to be able to attach data that we want to send to the server by using this append method, which takes in two arguments. So the first argument is the name of the data that we want to call it, and it's called product. The first one is product image, and I'm calling it the same as how I named it for over here for the component state properties. So I'll be calling product image, product name, product description, and so on, so on, and so on. All right, so that is for the first argument, and the second argument is the actual data, which is the product image here for the first one. So because we're going to be doing this multiple times, I'm going to paste this in a few additional times, just like so, and continue with the rest of the data. So the next one was for the product image, next one product description, and then we had the price, product category, and then the final one was for the quantity. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead back to our to-do list. So we prepared the data, and next make an HTTP request for the put request for put method. All right, so going back to here, we are gonna start making our Axios request, and Axios is gonna be an asynchronous call. So I'm gonna do async here, and I'm gonna do await Axios dot put because we are updating data. For that reason, we're using the put method, and we are gonna pass in 3 arguments. So for the first argument is the path the endpoint or the API endpoint that we want to hit in the backend. And I'm using backticks because I'm going to be passing in some JavaScript. So it's going to be API product / and then passing in our product ID, because this product ID we're going to be making use of to make a request to the database. That database needs to know exactly which product are we referring to. All right, and the second argument for this Axios request is the form data. So here you see we have our form data and we appended the necessary data that we want to send to the back end. So let's go ahead and pass that form data in. And the final third argument is the config. All right, some configuration which consists of headers, our headers. So I'm going to create a variable called config, and pass in a headers, and here I'm going to do content type, and this is going to be multi-part / form -data. Remember, in the most common pattern we were doing was doing content type of application / JSON. But in this case, we're doing multi-part form data because we are passing an image. For that reason, we're taking this approach. All right, so now that we have this created, we can pass that in as the third argument. And then Axios is promise based, so we can use a then and catch. So we get a response if everything goes successful, is success. So I'm going to do here console log dot success : and then pass the response. Otherwise, if we get an error, we're going to get an error passed to us, and we're just going to do a console log and error. Okay. All right. So that is it for now. We will be coming back to this later once we send the data from the backend and return it back from the backend, from the server back to the front end. Okay. So let's see. Here we took care of this here. And next is set up backend route with middleware for authentication and motor. All right. So now we are moving from the front end over to the backend. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open the side panel here. Close up this client side folder, and I'm going to go to my routes, product, and let's see. All right, I'm going to copy this router here for the read, paste below, and make changes here. So instead of a get, this will be a put. The first argument is the path. This will be the same. We are passing a parameter with the product ID, so we won't change that. And we will be passing in two middlewares. The first middleware is we will use this here, authenticate JWT. So copy that from there and paste it in here. This will make sure that the user is authenticated. And then the second one middleware I wanted to pass in was for motor. All right, so motor, I have it here already. I'm importing it here with the require. And as you can see, the path is inside the middleware folder, and I'm storing it in a variable called upload. I will show you now if I go to my middleware and go to motor. In the past, we created this middleware here. And so here is how it is. So I import or I installed a package called the motor, and then this is how we set it up. All right. I'm going to close this back up, and let's see. And as you can see here, when we create our post or when we create a product, we also made use of it here. It's called upload single, and then so we can essentially do this same thing right here. I'm going to copy this and paste it right here. All right. So upload single because we're only uploading one image, and then this is the name of that file or that field, the product image. So I'm going to save that and mark this off here. Next is set up the backend controller. All right, I'm only going to start off with the skeleton structure just so, because yeah, I'm just going to, let me show you here. So I'm going to go to my controllers, product, and I will copy this here, this controller for the read, paste below, change this to update, and I will delete everything within it and just pass in a comment like this. Okay, so I'm gonna mark this off here, and then now all I want to do is I want to start testing that the data that we are gonna get to the backend server, the data from the front end, which will be in the request body, the request file, and the product ID. Now this file that you see attached to this request object, that is being attached because of Motor, the Motor middleware. Motor ends up storing that image into this uploads folder, and it attaches this file object onto the request body, to the request object, and this file object contains information pertaining to that image, such as the file name, the size of it, and whatnot. So I'm going to need some information from that later on. And this product ID, again, we're passing in as a parameter because we're going to need it for making a request to the database. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we get all that stuff arriving to the backend. So I'm going to do this testing within console logs. So the first console log is, but before we do that, we have to bring in the product ID. I'm going to store it in a variable called product ID and do request params dot product ID. All right, just like this. All right, so now I can do my console log. So the first one I want to do, I want to test that we get the request dot body and request dot body. Copy this here, paste it 2 more times. The next one is request file. Again, the file attached to the request object, that's because of Motor. And then for this third one is we want to make sure we get the product ID. Okay, so I'm going to save that and go ahead with the testing. I'm going to close this side panel. So going here to the application, I'm going to do testing here. I'm going to click on the edit button for the pepperoni pizza. I'm going to choose a different image for it. Let's just say I decided to choose pasta. White wine. All right. I know it doesn't make sense, but this is just for testing. All right. So I'm going to choose this image for the pizza, and I'm going to change the category to wine and change the price to $14.50. And if I press submit and go to the back end, okay. Wait. Let me click submit again. Okay, let me see. Wait, Axios put. Did I save this? Yeah. S router put authenticate JWT upload. Oh, look here. I forgot to change the name of the controller. I kept it on read, so I have to change that to update. Okay, make sure you change this to update. All right, for the put request. All right, if I save this now, all right, so I'm gonna go back. All right, so now if I click the submit button and I go to the backend console, look at that. Look at all this data I get over here. All right, so over here you see that I get the request body, and the request body has all this information that we sent from the front end. So everything's here except for the product image, because again, remember the product image information is inside this file object made to us available because of Motor, and it gives information about the image right here. And really the only property I'm going to need for this file object is the file name, this thing here. Reason being is because if you see here, this right here, let's see, if you look at the last four numbers, it's, what is it, 9753. I'm gonna open up my side panel. Was it? Yeah, 9753, and go to my uploads folder. You see this right here, 9753. That is the file name in which it is, in how it's stored inside the uploads folder, and that is this wine image. All right, that is what we uploaded. So for that reason, that is specifically, I need this the file name, because that's what I'm going to store inside the database. All right, so let me expand this further. So again, we get the request body, we get the request file, and then here we get our product ID. And again, the product ID we need because when we make our request to the database. All right, so our testing, we passed it. All right, everything's good. So let's go ahead and mark this off. We passed the test. Next is we want to pass the request file and file name to the request body dot, I should say, file name. All right, the reason why I want to attach this stuff here onto the request body is because when I make my Mongoose, when I pass that data to using Mongoose, I'm going to pass it all in this whole, in just one object, which is the request body. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to remove this here. And I'm going to do request body and then file name. Now this is camel case, and the reason why I have camel case file name is because this specific property, this is how that image is named in the backend, file name camel case. Let me show you. So here, if you look, you see it's camel case file name. All right, for that reason, I'm saying request body and then file name as a camel case. All right, and what do I want to store there is the request file and then file name. This is not camel case. All right, so remember again that I showed you that this file object is made available to us by Motor, and I showed you right over here when we console logged it during the testing right here. And one of the properties is called file name. So, and that's giving us the file name here. All right. So I'm going to minimize that. So there. So once we do that, let's see, did I miss anything? Yeah. All right. So we attach that. Next is to actually start to make our database request. So I'm going to do send. I'm going to store the response from the database and store it in a variable called updated product. No, actually old product. The reason why I say old product because when we make here, actually let me take care of this first. Let me do await product find by ID and update. All right, and then first argument is the product ID, and the second one is the request body. The request body. All right. Now the reason why I'm calling it old product is because remember, as a third argument, what we could do when we're either creating or updating a product, we could pass in a third argument with a property called new and pass in the Boolean. So if I did new with the Boolean of true, I am saying to update the product in the database, but to return to us the newly created product and return to us the newly created product. Okay, but I don't want the newly created product. I want the product that the product that's stored in the database before it was updated, because I need to know later on, shortly, which image in the file system here, remember the uploads folder, which image here is it that I want to remove. Because if we're updating a product, or if we're updating a product and updating the image, well, we don't want to continue to keep the old image inside the file system, right? We want to delete it and just have that new image added into the uploads. But we want to make sure that we remove the old one. Okay, for that reason, I need to get the old document so I can end up removing that old image from here, this uploads, and we will take care of that shortly. All right, but again, we're not using this third parameter new. We want the old document, and I'm storing that result inside a variable called old product. All right, so now I'm going to save that. And in order for us to manipulate the file system, or to get access to the backend, to this backend folder, is we're going to use Node, a built-in function library called file system. Okay, file system is made available. We don't have to install any packages. It's made available because we have Node, so it's stored in a variable called fs. So here, if I go back to my update controller right here, I'm going to do file system dot unlink. All right, this is the name of the method available inside the file system, and it takes in two arguments. The first argument is the path or the folder in which our image exists. Okay, and we're going to use backticks because we are going to be using some JavaScript. So to start off, it's going to be inside the uploads folder, and then so now that we're in the uploads folder, you have all these files here, and we know the file or the image that we want to remove because, again, remember here the old product or the old document has the information from the old product, or the old product that was deleted. So this is where I'm going to do old product dot file name. Okay, old product dot file name. Yeah, old product, did I spell it right? Yeah, old product dot file name, just like that. And then the third argument is a callback. We can get past an error as the callback, and so we can check. So if error, throw error, and I'm also going to do console log. If there's no error, image successfully deleted from the file system. All right, there you go. I'm going to save that. Let's look at my notes. So make database request, unlink image in file system using a result from the database request. Yes, we took care of that. Almost done. And finally, we can send a success message as a response. So going back to the controller, after we remove the image from the file system, we can do response.json and send a success message really, I'm not going to be using this property in any way to display a message on the front end. It's really just so I can check, like in the network tab or whatever, that I am receiving a success. So that's it. It's so in reality, you really don't have to send this message at all, but it's just so I can test it. So so I'm going to do a response. I'm going to do product successfully updated, and that is it. All right, that is it for the controller. So now we can move our way back to the front end. Okay, what is this? See, updated token product. Okay, there you go. A little there. Remove that semicolon from there, from the response JSON. All right, I'm gonna save that back. There we go. All right, let's see where we're at. So we are in our final phase, which is telling us to use history to redirect user to the admin dashboard. All right, okay, so at this point, so long as we don't get an error, we arrive back to this where the request, the Axios request, was originally made. And then in this then block, this executes if everything goes well on the back end. We get the response here. But we're not going to be making use of the response. All we want to do is to redirect the user to the admin dashboard. So I'm going to use history. And this history, we have access if we destructure it from here. So I can destructure right here, destructure the history right there. Go back down. All right, so now right here, I do history.push and then pass in the path. Where do we want to redirect the user? To the admin /dashboard. All right, there we go. So if I say that, my friends, we should be done now. All right, so but of course we have to test this out, right? So let's go ahead and get at it. Let's go here to the main dashboard. Here I have my pepperoni pizza, and also let me do something here to the uploads folder. Let's see here. All right, so I added. Okay, so these 3 images here, it was for testing purposes. I'm gonna remove them for now because I was only doing some testing, but so I can remove them now. So all I have are 4 images, which were the original images that I had before I started this lecture. All right, and those images are all these that you see here currently in the dashboard. All right, let's make sure our database is in sync too, that there's 4 products. All right, currently it says 4, but I want to refresh database to make sure. Indeed. All right, so it does say 4. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with our final test. So here for the pepperoni pizza, I'm going to click the edit button. Okay, I'm going to click choose file. This time I'm going to choose red wine. Click open. So you see red wine here. Pepperoni pizza, I'm going to keep this the same because I will change the product back to its normal state. The price, I will change it to, let's say, let's just say $15.50. Category, I'll say wine. And quantity, I'll leave the same. So now I'm going to press this submit button you see here. If I submit, I am redirected, and look, dynamically pepperoni pizza gets a new image and it gets a new price of $15.50. There you go. So everything is working. All right, so we took care of everything. So now I'm going to switch this back. I'm going to switch this back to the pepperoni pizza. What we had originally, pizza pepperoni. Select that, and let's see, category, of course, it's obviously not wine. I'm going to change it back to its pizza category, and if I click submit, I'm redirected back to dashboard, and look at that. Again, I get the image pepperoni, and well, it's back to its category, and but the price, it's still the same, $15.50 from the previous updated. But you see everything's working. All right, so now we have all the CRUD functionality, right? CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. We're able to create a product. We're able to read a product, meaning like right now it's being displayed to us in the dashboard. That's read. Update, right? If we click this edit button, we're able to update, and delete. We're able to delete. That takes care of all your basic functionality. All right, so here I can delete this pepperoni pizza. It's gone. All right, there you go, guys. That's it, and take care.